All right, how's it going, guys? This time is going to be a short video listing the pros and cons of using Procreate. So I'm going to start with the cons first so that we can end on the pros, because we want to end on a good note. Now, if I first start this app up, right, and then I just go to a new project, screen size, what you'll notice is that there's really a lack of time-saving attention to detail. So let's say I draw like a square and then a triangle, right? And let's say I want this triangle to be on a different layer. So I'll just do this and I'll do a 3-finger gesture, which I'll drag 3 fingers down to bring up the copy and paste window. And I'll just do cut and paste for the triangle. And now as you can see that there's 2 different layers, right? So if I do the 3-finger gesture again and I bring up the copy and paste menu, you can't see me doing this, but I'm using 3 fingers to try and close the window, and I can't do that. And even if I open the quick menu and I do this, rather the clipboard, and I try and open the clipboard, that's what this is called, and I try and close the clipboard, then you'll see that it doesn't close it, right? But if I do the same gesture in the quick menu, press clipboard, it'll open it. And if I try and close it using the same button, it will just close the window, but it won't close the clipboard. There's a lot more little things like this, but I'm just giving you this example. If it's very rough around the edges when it comes to speeding up your workflow and you're like within the margins of using it in a specific shortcut, a specific tool, and you want to just do something that's quicker, then you really have to operate within the bounds of developers of Procreate. It's not an app where you can explore how you want to use a program or navigate around it. So it starts and ends with how it's programmed. And another example of this con will be keyboard shortcuts. So you can see here, I'm going to be using the 8-bit DOE Micro, this little mini controller, as a remote for Procreate. So if you hold the option button on the keyboard, then it will bring up this menu for any app on the iPad that you want to see the shortcuts to. And here you can see that, okay, it's pretty expensive when dealing with Procreate keyboard shortcuts. You know, you can do many things. You can do the basics, you know. The problem is there's no way to change these shortcuts, which adds to the con that I mentioned earlier. When it comes to it's not really modular, it's not really, you know, customizable to individual user experience. So whatever shortcuts is here, this is all you get. And you'll notice if I go to the wrench icon, there's no way to change shortcuts. And also, it doesn't even tell you how to see the shortcuts, really. Because you have gesture shortcuts, which just is cool. Certain feature gestures for Procreate, it'll let you change it. But we'll get to it later, but you'll find that for most of the actual gestures, not only can you not customize it, but it doesn't even tell you how to do it. So you have this, but there's nothing for keyboard shortcuts, like I said. So you're kind of out of luck when it comes to that. And also it doesn't even tell you, like I said, how to even see the keyboard shortcuts that you can't change. And so this leads me to my next point when it comes to no easily accessible manual telling you about the crucial shortcuts. There's no manual. There's no in-app manual, right? So first I'm going to have to talk about some things you'd want to know when you use Procreate more. So again, there's a lot of hidden gestures that you'll have no idea existed until you actually happen to watch a video tutorial or accidentally activate the gesture, since there's no manual. So what are some things to where initially you'll have no idea where it works? And remember, there isn't an in-app tutorial, no quick start tutorial, nothing. So what if I want to isolate the visibility, right? So let me do another layer and let me make a circle, right? So I have a circle. And so I have 3 layers with each with a shape. So what if I wanted to isolate the square? So you would just do this, right? Okay, you would think so, but there's a quicker way to do it. So if I just hold the visibility toggle on the square, then I can just show the square of that layer. That's something that you'd probably want to know. Once you get more intermediate advanced, once you start making bigger projects, for instance, if I were to go back to my gallery and just do a bigger project, right? So let's say this sketch I have some of my OCs. So if I just want to isolate the hair of this character, right? So then I would just go here, as you can see, and remember there's many layers in a bigger project with lots of colors, lots of line work. As you can see, there's a lot of layers. So then I would just hold it and bam. And now you can see that, and you can hold it again to return all the layers that were visible. So this is really helpful that you'd want to know. And like I said, you won't know until you again, happen to accidentally do it or happen to watch a YouTube tutorial like the one I'm making that you're watching, if someone happens to take time out of their day to make a tutorial. So what's next? So what if I want to select all the layer contents of a folder, right? Let's say I want to fill in the hair with a different color, like a green, right? And so obviously if I'm on the hair layer, then you want to have it enclosed so that I can change the color to green from red. So a good way to do that is to select the contents of the layer so that I'll only be able to overwrite the color that's already existing on the layer. So you can click the layer and then you can click select. And then this is how you'll be able to select the layer, right? And so then I'll be able to shade it in and it can be green. But what if I want to do that more quickly? And you kind of see where I'm going with this. So if I exit that and then I go back to layer, instead of having to click the thumbnail and hitting select layer, all I have to do is use 2 fingers, which again, you can't see. Actually, I might be able to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the selection. And let's say I wanted to select that again, like I said, but just do it faster. And so instead of hitting here on the thumbnail and clicking select, then I can just hold 2 fingers and create the selection. So in order to better illustrate that, I'm going to use the assistive touch feature and click gesture, 2 fingers, click this, hold, and now you see that if you hold the layer with 2 fingers, you can quickly select the contents of that layer. And then I can again draw over just the layer. How would I know that? Is anyone telling me that? Is the app telling me that? How would I know to randomly hold 2 fingers on this layer? And so a few more things. If you press the color window, press this gray kind of bar, then you can toggle it out. These are all things you're not going to know. Just warning you ahead of time, you know? And another thing is holding the eraser tool in order to draw with your current brush so that you can create like a transparent erase. And for more finger gestures, you can press 2 fingers on the layer and you can activate opacity, as you can see here, as opposed to going on the specific layer, hitting the blend mode, and then changing opacity this way. Also, you can 2 finger swipe to the right in order to unlock the transparent pixels. And this will be an alternate way to color just the contents of the layer, right? So if I do a swipe here with 2 fingers, then you'll see that now I can't paint on transparent pixels. So if I get out of here and then try and paint, then you'll see that it'll only paint on what has already been colored on. And there's more. This is not everything. There's more shortcuts that you're not going to know, that there's no app-based tutorial on, right? And you already know where I'm going with this. So the only way you'll know these things is if you access the actual comprehensive handbook. So yeah, if I press Procreate handbook after going to the wrench icon, help, and then Procreate handbook, then this is a web-based manual to Procreate. It's organized, but again, you're going to spend way longer than you want to just for trying to find one specific gesture, you know? And this is the only tutorial you get. So it's a bit con. Really is a bit con, and it can be understated.